We should be live. Welcome, 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 family, to the Empower Hour. I am AlQamar.
I am Hanifah.
And this evening, we have Mama Oni, who is no stranger. You guys know that beautiful face.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and light.
Mama Oni has joined us this evening for this particular topic of discussion that's sure to raise some eyebrows out there, family. We're going to need your help. As always, to tackle, is your relationship in bondage? Let's hash it out. And from our perspective. So, like always, please share, family. Please hit the thumbs up button, like us out there, get the word out so we can get as much participation as humanly possible this evening, so we can all learn and grow together. Hanifah, how you doing?
How are you guys doing? I'm good. I'm blessed.
You good? Mama Oni, how you feeling?
I feel fantastic. I'm a little bit sleepy, but I'm just going to claim that I feel energetic.
I love it. I love it.
I'm ready to talk to my sisters about this hot topic. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, Ashay. So we're going to jump right in. Is your relationship in bondage? Just out of curiosity, ladies, when you hear that, what comes to mind for you guys?
Well, some of the first things I would think of, you say bondage. So I think about control.
In a relationship. I'm sorry.
Control, captivity, unhappiness, conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a few things that come to mind when I think about being in bondage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there and let somebody else say something because I got some more thoughts, but
Okay.
y'all know I can go. I'll be on here talking.
Hanifah, you wanted to share your initial thoughts?
When I think of bondage, I think of lack of space for one's individuality and individual expression of that individuality. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of things that falls under that, but yeah, there's a lack of space for one's individual expression.
Yeah. Interesting enough, when I looked it up, it means basically slavery. Like you said, only captivity. Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I thought you was talking like within the context of relationships. That's what I was. Oh, okay. I mean, that's bondage. Bondage is imprisonment, right? Bondage,
exactly.
Right, the opposite of freedom.
Right.
So I guess we can go over some of the things that would constitute being having a relationship in bondage. Like when I think of that, I think of like checking your spouse's or significant other's cell phone when they're not around, and you know what I'm saying, or trying to dictate where they go and who friends they should have, and you know what I'm saying, just based on how you feel they should maneuver.
That's right.
Yeah, or just like clocking their every move and, you know, giving them a curfew.
So who got time for that? I don't got time to be clocking somebody else's stuff like that, really. For me, you know, I think about that. It's like, you know, over the years and stuff like that, I always went, oh, yeah, I ain't let my man go there. Oh, my man can't go here. My man can't go there. And I'm thinking like, okay, first is a problem. Because you can't own nobody. Or, you know, I know we say certain things, right? My children, my this, my that. But the reality is, the only real control that any of us have is control over what we are doing ourselves, right? We can't really dictate that for another person. So I often kind of cringe when I would hear sisters say that, as if that would really determine a certain outcome. You know, a lot of the times the sisters were afraid that they would, you know, the men would do something against whatever commitment they had to each other. If it was an exclusive relationship and they were only supposed to see one another, then they would try to deter them from being in certain environments or around certain people in an effort to stop them from doing something against the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I always maintain, even before I can articulate it, I always maintain, like, you really can't stop. You know, I could tell him not to go to the club, but what if he meet a sister in the grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
Why he going to get groceries for me? You know what I'm saying? So I guess what I'm trying to say, long story short, is that, you know, people are going to do whatever it is they're supposed to do whenever they're supposed to do it, however it lines up with their particular path. And so it was never anything that I never wanted to approach my relationships in a way where I could try to control or dictate that for someone else. And particularly because I'm so busy trying to find that out about myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of work trying to make sure you in control and you know what's happening. You're self-aware about what's going on with you at any given moment, to then try to add somebody else's, you know, to try to dictate somebody else's life in that way. And, you know, simply put, it's just no fun to me. It caused me a lot of stress and strain to be clocking somebody in that way. Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't give me a lot of freedom to love on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in a relationship because I'm trying to feel good about some things. It's not about me trying to control nobody. I'm sorry, that was a long thing, but y'all feel what I'm saying?
No, it wasn't long at all. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just never understood that from sisters. I would love it if some sisters can give me a better, you know, chime in and give me some better insight of how that works. You know, don't let him do this. Don't let him. And then the flip side is, you're not gonna let me do nothing. Like, I'm not gonna have allowance from you. You understand? Nobody is able to do that for me. So what I look like trying to do that to somebody else?
What's your thoughts, Hanifah?
I mean, when it comes to like control, like, first of all, only touched on mine. Mine is a possessive pronoun, right? And word is possessive, right? This need to possess each other is a problem in itself. It really, really is. Even with our own children, it's a problem. It shows up in our relationships. You have a role to play in everyone who comes in your space life, and that role is not to possess them. And that even pertains to parenting as well. You have a role to play in your children's lives, but not to own them. And once you relinquish that sense of like ownership and possessiveness, there's a level of peace and respect, right? And shared dignity that comes along with that. The need to control is rooted in fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Relationship, you only feel like you need to control when you're afraid of something. Because what happens is that fear then makes you delusional. Because the idea that you can control someone, like Oni says, that is delusional. It is. Unless you were able, especially people, I'm talking about like, unless you were able to program people from like the time you carried them or they were born. No, you know, people who have had their own experiences before you met them, you know what I'm saying? Had relationships, you know, and then they bump into you and somehow you believe within yourself because of the fear, by the way, because of the fear is the cloud now, right? That's blocking you from even thinking clearly. Because when you're functioning from a place of control, you're not thinking clearly because you believe the lie. The lie is that you can actually control this other person. So it's from a place of fear, right? And I think that we have to see that for what it is, and we have to like call things out from its root. You know what I mean? Like, but we need to really give vocabulary to stuff and identify it for what it really is. So we're talking about control, but really we're talking about fear. So we have to really call things out for what it is, because control is just a bastard child of fear. Pretty much. It's just the child of fear. So we talking about the child, but we ain't talking about the parents, you know what I'm saying? The mother that gave birth to this child. And I want to talk about both, right? So it's really rooted in fear. What are you afraid of? And then oftentimes people are coming with, sometimes people are justified in their fear. And when I say that, I want to make it clear they may have been hurt before. Okay. And they probably mind their business in that relationship. Okay. They wasn't going through phones or anything like that. They were busy minding their business. And then boom, their heart is shattered. So now they go into another relationship, and their thing is like, you know what? I didn't do this in my other relationship. And you know, it's like, let me make sure I catch this before before this person hurts me and shatters my heart again, right? So it's really a self-protection and fear that's going on, right? You're afraid of ever feeling that pain again, but you've allowed your fear to block your logic, right?
Yeah. And it actually becomes a pattern, you know, when
right.
you maneuvering into new relationships and things.
And that's what happens when we don't deal with the hurt from prior relationships and we jump into other relationships. These type of things, these are going to follow, because when you get hurt, you have to heal from that hurt, right? Or else you're going to go into that other relationship with the same fear, which is then going to produce your attempt to control the other person.
What comes to mind for me is, what does it do to the individual who is, you know, projecting all of that fear? You know, so what is it doing to you internally that you can't relax yourself? You know what I'm saying? In the relationship, you can't just, you know, be. You can't be without always wondering, where is he going? What is he doing? I wonder who is texting him now, and who did the phone ring, and your mind is going 100 different places. You know what I'm saying? Where it could be just nothing. And so, or trying to control somebody's and dictate to them what is going on in their world, and how much energy you're draining yourself of, and stress that you're building upon yourself, attempting to control the life of another human being, a full-grown human being at that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's an interesting thing. And like you said, Hanifah, when you go into another relationship and you try to stop that, you know, it's like, it becomes like habit forming and patterns. So you do it so much, so often, so frequently, that you don't even think about it anymore. It just becomes what you do. And so you get into another relationship, and a lot of times some of those same behaviors could be the reason why the first relationship failed, you know? And then without even understanding that, you're taking those same behaviors into the next relationship, and you're doing the exact same thing over and over again without getting any positive results in return.
Love should never be fear-based.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know that those two things can exist in the same space, really. They're polar opposites. I think they're both necessary, right? Like, I don't feel that fear is such a terrible thing we should just discard it altogether. It's something very important about using the fear and transmuting it, though, right? Because there's no bravery or courage or risk-taking without some fear, right? So I think that it's a necessary thing. I think, you know, you mentioned something, Hanif, and you were saying that, you know, a lot of the times people are operating from what has happened, right? And they don't heal that part of themselves. They don't forgive that part of, you know, whatever decisions they made, right? But here is the thing that I think about across the board when it comes to relationships. And it's important that you say that it's not just between, you know, with your man, but also with your children, and just in relationships, you know, in general, an umbrella, if you will, of relationships. It's a lot of the things that we do in one relationship, you know, those same skills, the same skill set can be applied to any relationship, really, right? And so, you know, I always maintain the relationship with yourself is most important, right? So then you get to really see You get to tap into those things that you might have learned from past experiences. You also get to tap into something very important in that sometimes we just learn that in socialization, right? Before we even have any experiences, we learn by watching and observing how we see the men and women or people operate in relationships in general in our lives, right? And if we grow up in a household where there's a lot of disconnection and dysfunction, and you see people not really trusting one another, you growing up in that environment as a child, by default, you end up picking that up, right? And if nobody ever comes and says to you, wait a minute, hold on, that thing you learned for 10 years in your life, that's not necessarily the only way you can approach life. You know what I'm saying? There's some other ways that you can build relationships and have interpersonal skills and do start people off with trust until they give you a reason not to trust, right? But that has to be something that's learned. And I think we can sit and say that for the most part, a lot of us learn to distrust first, you know, and like I said, unless you're coming from a household where these kinds of things are really talked about, and there's an opportunity and space for people to learn how to maneuver in relationships and things like that. So then what ends up happening is that you end up just mimicking said behavior, right? You don't even know. You just say, no, when I get a man, I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do that. And you don't really have a clue because nobody showed you anything different, right? So then all of that to say, everything always comes back. Oni is always going to say this. Everything comes back to you. So once you recognize that those are some of the habits that you picked up, and that is not going to serve you in your relationship or in your life in general, then it's up to you to really start taking a look at that and unpacking that and picking away at it and, you know, paying attention to what it is that you're doing. You know, relationships are about relating. So in the relationship, you're supposed to be learning more about you, right? And I think we've said this over and over. We kind of attract what we are, right? Or not necessarily what we are, but what we need to learn, right? A lot of times that comes in the form of relationships.
Yeah, and I think that we can kind of gauge for those who may not even know what it is that they're doing that's not, you know, proper. You know, they hear you and they're like, well, I'm thinking I'm doing all right.
Right.
Meantime, their significant other is in misery because they so controlling. And
that's right.
A kind of a gauge could be how you feel. You know what I'm saying? If you feel tense and uptight and stressed out about it, or you know what I'm saying, all those type of emotions, then that for me allows me to know that there's something there that needs to be worked out. You should not be stress kills. So you should not be having those type of feelings moving in your relationship, and you accept it as normal. So
you know how many of us carry the seed of all men cheat?
Oh God.
Relationships.
That's just how men are.
I mean, people are still saying this in front of young girls and young boys. That matters too. Because if young boys are hearing that enough, they begin to think that is their nature. Okay, so that seed of, I wish we would stop saying that all men cheat. That is what they do. You see it in the movies where the grandparents say that, the mothers say that. Then you see it in real life in our community. Some of us have probably heard it over our lifetime. So imagine taking that seed into relationships. So what is it? You going into a relationship already expecting, right? Or giving space to it, or introducing the idea that men cheat. As good as this person is, that seed is already there. You know what I mean? So when I'm talking about like uprooting, like Oni was just mentioning, just certain things that we look at and we learn, that's a big one. A lot of us been hearing that since we were little girls, whether it's just sitting around the dinner table at family functions. You know, when something happens in our families, in the relationships, specifically if it's the men that betrayed, you know, the family, you know, you hear that comes up every time. Girl, honey, that's what men do. They cheat. You know
So,
what I mean?
yeah, like I
Very
don't like that. I don't
but
like that.
the seed that's being planted, right? And a lot of us take that into relationships with us, and then we automatically go into possessive mode, whereas you feel the need to possess because what you're trying to do is prevent that prophecy from being fulfilled.
Right. That the prophecy that you already had spoken to your existence.
Right, which is men are going to cheat. That is what they do.
Right.
So then how do we explain the women that do that? Like I always challenge that statement. I always challenge it. I always, because I don't understand. Like before we break down being man or woman, we spirit first, right? We live in a human experience. So everybody has the opportunity. Now, granted, women come in with the little built-in, right? We don't have to try as hard, right? But we all have the potential to exercise self-discipline. So I don't like when people say, well, you know, that's just, it's harder for men. It's, oh, well, okay, but guess what? If I take away his playing field, then he'll never get stronger. So I'm not going to give him an excuse that that's his nature, because then there's no explanation for the women who do it as well.
Because that's rooted in patriarchy. It's rooted in
That's right. It is.
it's rooted in the idea that men sexual drive, like women don't have as high sexual drives as men. Women don't see sex the same way. That's the idea of it. So what happens is, if, like, for example, if there's a woman who is, I mean, I'm gonna phrase it this way, okay? Because I'm not for disrespecting people's experiences, and you know, I'm not for that. But like a woman who her sex drive might be a little high, okay? What happens is she gets labeled the things that a man with the same sex drive would never be labeled, and the reason why is because it is not expected. Well, it is not taught that women enjoy sex the way that men do. So it's rooted, it really is rooted in that, in somewhat in that. But we know that that's not true. Okay? Women are out there cheating just as much as men are cheating. Okay? They are. I don't even know where we're getting these numbers from. You know, the women are not telling the truth on these statistic tests. You know, the women are just not telling the truth. They're out there like, never have I ever.
Oh, whatever. Whatever. They be out here doing it and be pro at it here. Yeah, but again, I think that the cheating part is one thing, right? I think there's something to be said too about, you know, people thinking that the cheating start when the sex start. See, I always like to maintain this too. It's like nothing just automatically happens. You don't just fall into nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, from the time you lock eyes with that person or whatever, what the vibe is. You know what that is. And you have a right, a choice to make whether or not you're going to pursue that attraction or not. And you do that based on whatever your commitment is to the person that you're involved with, right? Because it doesn't just start once you all have sex together, right? And again, that's why I say, like, I'm not going to try to control anybody, because they're going to do what they want to do when it happens for them. Who am I to say that they with me, but they might not see something else that sparks their soul in the way where they have to pursue that? That's not up to me. You know what I'm saying? I will hope that the person that I'm with will have the decency and the respect and the honor for me to give me the heads up. You know what I'm saying? But I can't control that. You know, I can't control what nobody else is supposed to experience. You know what I'm saying? And my thing when I come to relate is to be able to just witness yours and you witness mine. And we'll do that for however long we're supposed to do it, right?
It's down to self-discipline, Oni, which is what you
It does. It does.
today. Like we live in a monogamous culture where monogamy is the order of the day, right? And monogamy, people interpret that as their partner will never be attracted to anyone else but them. And that is the problem right there, because that is just a lie. Okay, it's Like it's just
Confusion.
it's a lie, it's BS. And if you believe that, I'm telling you right now, you just setting yourself up, okay, for a lot of stress and heartache. Like that is just, I mean, like on your own self. Really, you don't be on you don't watch some movie and be like, "Ooh, I dress." That's attraction. That is
He
attraction.
look good, girl. He black. Y'all know I like that black.
But that's confusing because a lot of women are attracted to him. And I'm talking about married and single women. So that is
Mhm.
attraction. But for some reason, it's sort of like dismissed because it's a celebrity, but it's still attraction. You get what I'm saying? So now I wanted to shift a little bit because we're talking about cheating as far as bondage is concerned. But there's like another form of bondage that can happen in relationships where you just don't allow the person to function outside of what your expectations are. That is
That's another control right there.
yes, because you come in with your vision. And what happens a lot of time is we begin to try to mold, that person into the vision to fit the storyline that we have entered the relationship with. You see what I'm saying? Such and such written by AlQamar, right?
Mhm.
Starring AlQamar. Co-starring AlQamar's partner.
Whoever I could put in there.
AlQamar is the star of this story. So everything in the story gonna revolve around AlQamar. You know what I mean?
Written by me.
That's right.
Look, script written by you for your partner.
That's right.
And directed.
You exactly. You know how many times you're in there talking about cut. You're not doing it right. Take it from the top.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. That's real
That's
talk.
right. That's right. We laughing about that, but that really is, there's some truth to that. The issue is we have to give people the auditions though. You know what I'm saying? We have to allow them to audition for these parts. And if they don't pass the audition, then they don't need to be in your particular play. And that's okay too, but don't have the people unqualified in that position playing that role. And now you got to be multitasking and micromanaging.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I know that that's not always the conversation. And I know I'm kind of upscaling in the way that I'm speaking. But, I always speak in solution based. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we see that that's what we're doing. Okay, so this is my idea about why. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of that comes from that control piece. Or you hear another thing we've heard, this other seed that we were playing. Oh, girl, I'm going to mold him. He got potential. I'm going to mold him. That's control. Oh, I ain't going to give him none if he don't do X, Y, and Z. That's control. So a lot of times we think about it in terms of, oh, you can't go nowhere. But then we also have had the seeds planted about how we use, our sensuality or our sexuality and our lady girl, you know what I'm saying, to manipulate and control a certain thing too. And that's something that, it might not be as drastic as maybe somebody trying to control or clock you, but it's still a form of controlling and can still put your partner in bondage. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not allowing a harmony, you know what I'm saying? Like a harmony that both people get to exist as they are.
Yes.
You visit your whole thing the whole time from the time you meet him is how you gonna make him into what that character in your play is. You never checking to see if that's what he wants to do, or if he even has the capacity to do it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Sometimes we get, and then the sex comes really fast. So he can be good on that part for that role, but then he not thinking about nothing spiritual, or he not thinking nothing about no finances. He's fine with his little 9 to 5. He gonna make that same 25, 35,000 for the rest of his life. He's content with that. And in your mind, this particular character need to be willing to grow and have at least 5 different streams of income. But you allow him in your play, and that was never his goal.
The way in which we are taught to approach our men is really insulting to their own autonomy and divinity. It's very insulting. It's we approach our men oftentimes like children.
Mm.
So there are two conversations that I have a problem with. On one end is what we're talking about, which is, all men cheat, right? Because this is still the same coin flipped. And the other side of that coin is, girl, you got to know how to like get him to do what you want. There's a lot of manipulation that's being taught to young girls as far as men are concerned. And so when they get into relationships and they meet a man that they cannot manipulate, okay, there's an exit that happens and there's a blame game that happens. You get what I'm trying to say? So the way that we approach
Mhm.
our men, we really gotta pay attention to that, because they're not little children and they're not balls of clay for us to do what we will with them. They have the ability to think. Okay, even the idea of all men cheat is still connected to this, to where it's like, oh, they can't help it. You know what I mean?
Mm. Oh,
They're so underdeveloped and undisciplined that they cannot help it. That is an insult. That
it
is
is.
insult to our men, and we should not approach our relationships like that. They are very capable of thinking, leading. Okay, they're very capable of protecting. That's a big one of late. You know what I'm saying? And they're also very capable of self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Very capable of that.
You lower the standards of the relationship when you come into that concept.
That's right. That's right.
But let's talk a little bit about control as it relates to being vindictive.
Oh dear.
Okay, let me paint a scenario, a narrative. Okay, you have a child by this individual, or you guys are no longer together, and you know where I'm going. Only you look like you know exactly where I'm going with this. Now, this man is a good father to his child, always have been. The child loves their father to death, can't do no wrong. And you are upset at this man for something he did. And he wants to see his child, and the child wants to see him. But you decide, because you're so angry and upset, that you're gonna withhold the child, the love from them two individuals. So now you're stepping in between them two, and no, you're not going to see your child, your son, until you do X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C. How does that vindictive, manipulating aspect of control, how dangerous and destructive can that be, ladies?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and I know this is because I'm Oni Afryae, the mother who sees, I think about the child in the situation, or the children. Mm-hmm. I always was like, us as adults, we had our chance at whatever relationship we were supposed to be having and whatever we were supposed to be doing. But these children, you know what I'm saying, should not have to deal with whatever we can't get together. So my mind always goes to what's happening with the children mentally, emotionally, physically, when parents are doing that and not really committed to co-parenting, right? It's easy for people to think that once you finish with a relationship, that it should no longer phase what your current relationship. And that is true if there are no children involved. But see, the children is what makes everything relative. You understand? So it's no way for you to think that you can continue to be at odds with the other parent and still take good care of your child, or provide the environment where that child can break certain cycles. You're just going to be establishing the same foundation for the same kind of cycle to continue. And chances are those same children are going to grow up and do the same thing and have, children and then you can't get along with the partner, and then you just that cycle just keeps going over and over again. So with that scenario, the first thing I think about is what's going to happen to these babies. You know, they say they don't have nothing to do with you and me being mad at one another. You know, and speaking from my own personal experience, my son's father and I did not stay together, right? And I guarantee you, for the first 2 years, if I was ever to see him and lay hands on him, it would have been a problem. I lay hands now with love and light and healing, but the other kind of hands, you know, I was mad for a very long time. And I remember nursing my son one day. Of course, he was still an infant. I was nursing him, and I wasn't even talking to anybody. I was just having really terrible thoughts about his father and how his father dropped the ball, and just really, and my son got so aggravated and upset and agitated, you know, when that was happening. That was my clue. I was like, oh, this thing is an energetic thing. How can I really take care of my son if I'm mad at his father like this? You know, if my complaint is that he did A, B, C, and D, and I'm angry and he's gone, and I sit in that and stay in that bitterness and that anger and all of that, then I'm gone too. I might physically be present, but any capacity that I would have to mother my child is going to be compromised. You understand what I'm saying? So long answer to that question, or what my response would be immediately, is the children. Like, what's going to happen to the child in that situation? You got to get that together within yourself. Even if I never ever decided to date anybody else again ever, I still needed to make sure that I was good so I could raise my son properly. A son, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't afford to be sitting nowhere bitter at no man. How I'm going to show my son how to be a loving, powerful, strong, mighty, black, strong companion?
It's interesting how we talk about forgiveness so much in our community, but when it comes to, you know, situations like that, it's so difficult. We easier to forgive somebody else, you know, than people that's right in our own connected.
Oh, I had to do it, sis, and I had to start forgiving myself first. That's where I was really mad. I was projecting it on him, but I was like, dang, how'd you know he wasn't, you saw this, you saw that. So I really had to start forgiving myself for making a decision, you know what I'm saying, to do something where I knew the brother, like I was saying before, might not have had the capacity, right? So a lot of the stuff that I say, it never comes from me just being theory. It's because I be thinking about my own experiences, you know what I'm saying? And so once I get to the place where I understand, like, you know what, I'm mad, really, this need to try to control or manipulate or be angry and bitter really comes from me not trusting the decision that I made.
Good teaching.
And really just, and then here is the thing with that. The way that I get to trust in myself is I just forgive myself. You knew what you knew to do at the time, Oni. Now you know better, you can do better. It's all gravy. You know, it's about relating. It's about polishing yourself. If you're looking at it like
trusting, and not just trusting, but taking responsibility.
That's it. Hold yourself accountable. So because you could tell, you can run down all the stuff he didn't do, right?
Get Hanifah in this.
Okay.
Hanifah, what's your thoughts about that? The whole scenario with the child and its father and the mother controlling that.
Yeah, I feel like when we're co-parenting, we have to bear in mind that our personalities don't go anywhere. We take them with us. So if you and that person were clashing because you had different perspectives on parenting, that was happening when y'all was together. Okay, it's some reason once emotions get high, we act brand new because now they're split, and somehow it's like you're a jerk. No, you felt he was a jerk when you were in the relationship with them. Or the brother saying you're controlling. You felt that way, and you know that's how she was when you. So those things don't go away once we separate, and now we have to co-parent, right? Maybe they're a little bit more. They seem a little bit more exaggerated because or a little bit more pronounced because we are
raw.
Yeah, we're high in emotions. As far as that goes, the work has to be done within, right? it has to be done within whether that person, and this is not just for people who are, I want to be very clear on this. This is not just for people who are actually co-parenting. I fall in that category, right? I am not a single mother. I would never call myself a single mother, right? Even when I wasn't with someone, I was a single woman who was co-parenting. There is a difference, okay? That single mother bag is like exclusively, there are women who are really single parenting, like really. So what happens oftentimes, even in our hut, we somehow categorize ourselves as single mothers. And it's like, no, there's someone else financially helping you. There's someone else who comes and pick your child up when you're not giving them help for it. So technically you got some help. But I think the work has to be done within first, because this is what I want to make clear, whether that person is co-parenting with you or not, because there are situations where there are some abandonment situations out there where people have abandoned their children, okay, be it mother or father. But there are those situations, whether that person is there to co-parent with you or not, that hurt and that pain still needs to be worked through so you can show up as your best self for your child. Period. Like, period. Okay. We talk about we will die for our children and we will do anything for our children. And sometimes I'll be looking at some of my sisters like, seem like you'll do anything for that child, but actually effectively co-parent with their other parents. You do it. You lay your life on the line for that child, but you just not willing to put in the work to co-parent. I think sometimes when people leave out of relationships hurt, we have this idea that somehow I don't have to work with this person anymore. No, as long as there's a mutual interest, i.e. the child, right? As long as there's a mutual investment, i.e. the child, you are going to have to partner. You are going to have to work with, because if you don't, you are robbing your child of a wholesome experience.
That's
when
right.
we play these petty games, your child cannot become the toy on the playground. The toy you brought to the playground that you say, that's my ball. And because you pushed me, you don't get to play with my ball. We can't treat our children like the ball we brought to the playground. And because such and such hurt us, we take our ball and we go home with it. And we refuse to let such and such play with the ball. We can't deal with our children like that. You get what I'm saying? You are robbing your child of a full experience. And then the other thing that I realized is, oftentimes, a lot of us who come from homes where there was no father in the picture, we got it bad. We got it real bad as far as understanding the significance of the divine masculine. Okay, we talk about divine feminine a lot. The divine masculine in your child's life.
Yes.
It's almost like you done seen grandma, ma, sisters, aunts, the people that wrong you did this. These are the seeds, Oni, we started off talking about.
That's right.
Is you don't need no man.
Oh my God.
That's another seed a lot of us carry in to relationships. And that's why we try to approach our men like they're children.
Or like, I don't need you.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But
you can't really contribute anything to me, right?
That's right.
So therefore, I am above you because I have more to contribute. I am here to build you, not the other way around. Those are seeds that are planted from a very young age in a lot of us. So it trickles over into when our relationships split. We cannot really push through the hurt to see the significance of the other person's role in that child's life, because we do not know what that feels like. We have not had that experience. We haven't had that balance in our own lives.
Well, let's talk about how even before the split, and how the so many splits come to be. I think that is because we don't recognize the balance of the two, the male, female, the balance. And
Mhm.
so we because like you were just explaining, Hanifah, you didn't grow up that way. There was always the feminine energy, you know, for the vast majority of your life. You may have came into contact with uncles and, you know, people and things like that. But for, you know, the core of your existence, that male energy balance did not exist.
Mhm.
So here you are for, and then we can say the same for the brothers. So here you are in a relationship, attempting to make, you know what I'm saying, to create a semblance of balance that you've never even experienced in all your life, and what that looks like,
Right.
you know? And I
sisters, like we bend over backwards. I see some of our sisters bend over backwards to get their children into the best schools, to expose their kids to the best. I mean, bend over. They're barely making ends meet, but they're doing whatever they have to give their children this experience. Apply that same energy. You have to see it as just as important, because your child that you want to make sure grow up in this neighborhood, that you willing to work to live paycheck to paycheck just to live in, so that your child could have the experience in that suburb or whatever it is. As much as that's important, the child's father or mother is just as important. You have to see that the same way that you're going out of your way to make sure that your child is properly provided for. You have to put the same energy in. I need to walk with this person, okay, to give my child. And by the way, we teach children, because we all know everything Oni just said. We know every time relationships don't always work out. Let's be honest, they don't. In co-parenting, peacefully co-parenting, you are teaching your child how to still have a relationship even when the both of you guys don't agree. That is important. Conflict resolution.
That's right.
It's conflict resolution. You are teaching your child that without sitting them on teach, because they're watching. The children are always watching.
They do what you say. I mean, they don't do what you say, they do what you do. I have and I'm gonna let Oni jump in here, but I just want to make a quick point how my mother and father, when I was about 15 years old, they divorced. And they went through it was a rough little, a rough road for a period, a short period, because when feelings are raw, we're all human, feelings are raw. But they were able to come back to the center, and how there were family vacations and gatherings and holidays and things like that. And my mother and father together laughing and joking with their significant others, all in the same room. We're all, so I never had to like, oh gosh, I want dad here, but mom's coming, so I don't know how, she's gonna feel. We never had, me and my siblings didn't have to deal with that, because we knew that when the family came together, it was a family. It was a village still, despite them not being together. And how that, seeing that growing up, allowed me to take on that same experience with my own children.
Yes.
And things like that. So yeah, we learn those patterns from whence we came.
Real quick, Oni, I know you're about to speak on this, but Oni had asked in the beginning, what does that do to the children? Stress them the hell out. Stress them the hell out. You know the anxiety that a child has to experience every time both parents have to show up to the game? The basketball game, it's like, I just hope nothing pops off.
Lord.
Yeah, that's what it does. Stress the children out unnecessarily. Just stressing, and also it forces them. And this is the sad part. When parents are at odds and they are fighting each other, you're going to force your children to choose a side.
That's it.
And they should never be forced to do that.
Never.
Poor little hearts. Go ahead, Oni.
Oh, y'all keep on saying I was jumping in. I'm enjoying what y'all was saying. In my mind, as you guys are talking, I was, I'm still thinking about this control thing, right? I'm thinking about how we do that in the scenario you gave me, about co-parenting and using the child as a pawn, or using the child to manipulate or control, in the efforts of not being cheated on, how you try to control your companion by telling them they can't do this, can't do that. what keeps coming in my mind about this control thing is you're actually stealing from someone else. You're stealing all of their energy. And all, like you were talking about, stop approaching people, or men in particular, our men, like they're less than, or they're somehow at a deficit.
Correct.
That mindset is a thievery. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're not giving people the opportunity to show up and exist and provide whatever energy they were supposed to give to or contribute to that particular meeting. Yeah. And whatever season you were supposed to be together. You're missing all of that. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I do agree it comes from a fear place, but again, fear is okay if you can be aware that that's what it is, and then you use that. You know what I'm saying? Like, use it in a way that you can give to a person. Like, okay, all right, let me try to see if I can make it simple what I'm saying, because I got a lot of thought. I used to have this sister that came for massage, and every time she would come from massage, most people like to just relax on the table. They don't want to talk. They don't want to be stressed out. They coming to get rid of stress, right? Mm-hmm. But she would always start talking to me about dating the brothers and how she keep meeting these guys and nobody's this and nobody. And so I said to her one time, I said, sis, do you ever approach a relationship thinking about what you can give to them? Because all I hear you talking about all the time is how they got to do this, how they got to do that. They got to be here. They got to be there. They got to make this much. They got to, you know. Do you ever just stop and think about what would you be given to pursue a relationship with someone else? Do you ever have a list? I'm going to give them this. I'm going to share with them this of myself. This, I'm really good at this. I want to share that with this person, right? So if you're approaching it in that way, what you laughing at me? Look at Hanifah.
I'm thinking as you're talking.
I want to share this with you as opposed to what I want to get from you. Because then you're not thinking about how you can control and make sure you get or steal anything from anybody. You know what I'm saying? You come in with the you come with the knowing that we all say it, give and receive, right? What you reap, you sow. What you put out, you get back. But we don't necessarily go in it when we come in to control somebody. You don't go with the give part first. Mm-hmm. You come in talking about what you're gonna give me. And to me, when as we're talking, I keep thinking that, you know, they're really stealing from people in that way.
Yeah.
And then when that relates to the child, you stealing all of their joy. Like, children should not have to be worried about adult things too early. It should not be their responsibility to choose mommy or daddy, or auntie over uncle, or, you know what I mean, grandma over my mother. You should never put children in no situation. Nobody should be put in that situation, but certainly children. This is adult stuff. They should never be.
So perhaps, you know, when we meet people, like, we usually ask people, well, what do you want to get out of the relationship? Perhaps we need to be asking, what are you going to be bringing to the relationship? What is it that you're bringing into the relationship? Because
that's right.
Ask the question, what are you trying to get out? So you have two people coming in, focus on getting out of. What am I going to get out of the relationship? And maybe that focus needs to shift to what can I contribute?
What am I bringing?
Yeah.
What am I bringing? Because I think if you set that tone and you say, this is what I'm bringing, what you're doing is you give, not only are you setting yourself up to be giving yourself permission to just be free, you already setting that tone, but you also setting a tone and an environment for somebody else to come in and bring that as well. You know, if I come to you and say, Hanifah, listen, if I do this with you, you're gonna need to do this, that, and that, this, and that, and the other. Your response automatically is going to be, okay, well, if I do that for you, you're going to have to do this for me, right? But if I come to you and I say, Hanifah, I have this for you, this project that we're going to do together, I have this, 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 and this. Then your response is automatically, oh, okay, Oni, that's awesome. You filled in the gaps. Now I have this, 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 and this. You see what I'm saying? And then we start talking about what we have to offer each other as opposed to what we're going to try to take away. And by default, because the law is to give and receive, if you go in giving, you're going to automatically receive. Right. And then there's no reason for nobody to be trying to control the outcome other than what it is that they're going to contribute.
Because reciprocity is naturally a part of love. Naturally. So when you love, yeah, when you love someone, like you just said, that person coming in and saying, "This is what I have to offer," you within that within love, because reciprocity is a part of that. Naturally, you are going to return something. You know what I mean? You're going to say, "Well, these are my offerings as well." You know, um,
Mhm.
as you were speaking, Oni, do you guys think? I know earlier, Oni, you mentioned like people. We talk about like people being a reflection of us, the people who are in our spaces,
Mhm.
specifically who you partner with. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to share this, and then you guys could tell me what you guys think. I think a lot of times, because I've seen it even in my own experience, where I think we try to shut out the characteristics, or not characteristic, but the things that we try to suppress or shut out in our partner, if things that we have not dealt with within our own selves. At least that's what I see in my own experience, and that's only as I began to tune in. I wasn't always there, but I wasn't always accepting that you this is my reflection, right? But the things that it's like we don't we haven't faced the shadow parts of ourselves, and so when those shadow parts show up in our partner, it's like, oh no, 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 and it's really because you haven't dealt with those parts of yourself. In fact, not only haven't you dealt with them, some of them you're ashamed of. Okay,
Mhm.
you're ashamed of, and that partner is bringing it to the table for you to deal with it. And instead of us dealing with stuff, we divorce ourselves from it, we run away from it, and we give up on the relationship, and we figure we're going to go to another relationship. But you know what, another part of yourself is there waiting for you as well.
Let me right with you. Well, family, we don't have a lot of time left, and I do want to get some of the comments that's on the stream into
Okay,
the
perfect,
conversation.
perfect.
Bintu, thank you guys for joining us too. And if you're just joining, you are talking to the Women of the Empower Hour, and we are joined this evening with Mama Oni, and we're talking about relationships and bondage. Bintu had something. She said, "Women are made by nature to help the man. If he has nothing going on, then he does not need a woman." What you guys thoughts on that?
What? Say
Also
that again.
said, I want men cannot help a man do nothing. She has to help a man do something. If he is a nothing doing man, then he don't need a woman. And that's a quote by Louis Farrakhan. And I was thinking that because I think we all are advocates of Black men,
Mhm.
but everybody aren't. A lot of women who look like us are not. And so
Mhm.
I know we probably get some folks on that'll watch and listen and like, well, the men I come across ain't nothing. And I don't mean they always hurt me, and they don't deserve to be respected and da 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 da. So what do you have to say to the women that may approach the situation like that, where I see it all the time on social media? The ones that are all men ain't shit
Mm.
type, categories.
Another seed. That's another seed that's being
That's it.
planted in our young women, in our young girls, subconscious mind right now as we speak. All men ain't shit. That's another seed as well. All men cheat. All men ain't shit. You don't need a man. Those three are like the
All the independent women, put your hands in the air. All the independent women. So y'all, I've said this 1,000 times. That those sisters are dealing with some wounds.
oh yeah.
Some unhealed things that, again, we've talked about this before. It might have been through their own experiences this lifetime. Might have been something that happened in the DNA that happened a couple of generations ago that's just passed on. You know what I'm saying? And they just following the template. I think it's really, really important that these conversations that we have just helps to give another perspective, sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do believe that women by nature are here to assist. And I say that because of our makeup. You know, everybody comes through us. Like there's no way that anybody gets here unless they come through us. So I do agree with that. I agree with it in this way: a help meet versus a help mate. Now, my beloved broke that down for me one time. I didn't understand that, but you know, that comes from that scripture where they talk about, I don't want to offend anybody, but anyway, they talk about the woman being made from the rib of the man. And in that scripture, the original scripture said help meet, not help mate, meaning that they both exist as God personified, woman and man. And so they come together to meet. No one is going to be above the other one. No one is there to just help the other one succeed, and that's that. Another way that that seed has been planted, and I think this might be a passive aggressive way that we've said this one, but it's the same thing. Behind every good man, there's a good woman. But just in terms of saying behind versus beside, see, it's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, that help meet, we're side by side. There's no one above or below, right? And so we go from one extreme oh, you're only here to help man. Woman is only here to help man. And then we go all the way to the other extreme that I don't need a man. There's a way for us to find a place in the middle where we understand the divine masculine and divine femininity are polar opposites of the same thing. And that in order for anything to be completely whole, both have to exist. And they're right though, huh?
Opposites, they complement each other.
That's what I mean to say. Thank you for checking in on your sister. See how we do well together?
I don't think
that's that teamwork, but I meant okay, so you're right, and thank you for correcting me. And complimenting. Those two things complement each other. That means that this idea about not needing that part of yourself is an illusion. Yeah. And for a man to approach a woman and that she has to help him, you know, satisfy his purpose, in lieu of him doing everything that he's supposed to do that don't have nothing to do with her and fulfilling his purpose. It's something that we get to come together and help meet each other and catapult each other into that purpose and witness that purpose together, right? For however long that season lasts.
For both parties involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's never going to be a thing where, oh, a woman should be under a man's foot. And it should never be a situation where I don't need a man.
Right.
Those are the kinds of seeds that we need to really chop down at the root at this point.
Yeah. We
really do, because those things are so embedded in how we think and speak. And even though I can say this to you now, I might show up like this sometime tomorrow in some way or the other, because, you know, the stuff is residual. And so you have to be very diligent and intentional about catching it when it comes and switching your thing up. So I haven't arrived. But that's some of the things, those seeds, you know what I'm saying? Once we understand that we have those seeds, y'all.
Yeah.
We have to really be doing something about that. It's not okay to just leave it there.
Yeah, what happens is it becomes self-sabotaging behavior.
Absolutely.
Recognizing it. So they think that you doing something and you big and bad and mighty because you don't need a man, or you know what I'm saying, you big and bad and mighty because you got the control over the child when the man is hurting and things like that, but without recognizing that these things are self-sabotaging behaviors. So what, at the common denominator at the end of the day, the one who's going to suffer the most for these behaviors is you.
That's right.
You, with all that bitter pain.
It's your play.
Yeah. And I think that self-work. And when you go back to really sitting in your feelings and really understanding what it is that you're feeling inside, you can better be able to, like my sister Hanifah say, put words to those feelings and describe and describe those voices within and what they actually are doing to you, and so you can then move forward in a better, more healthier space.
Yeah. So then that way, when you somewhere trying to look real pretty and you need to look real good, your trauma don't show up and be like, she lying. That's Hanifah's quote. I'm gonna bring that up all the time.
Trauma is petty.
Yes, she'll show up like feline.
Your trauma will choose the worst place. Actually, the place that you trying to look all nice and dignified is where your trauma will show up and embarrass your behind. And that's because you decide to give your trauma the attention. And so your trauma gonna do what it must to get your attention. At the end of the day, you're giving it attention is approaching it, talking to it, sitting with it, hearing it. Because some of us are dealing with trauma and we don't even know what it's connected to. We know something ain't right, but we don't even know what it's connected to. So when I talk about talking to your trauma and sitting in it, it's like, yes, sit and feel. That's a big one. Our refusal to feel. And not only that, our the way that we treat people who actually choose to feel. It's like, oh, get over it. We come from families like that, where like, okay, that's enough crying,
No, that's enough.
Right. There's nothing wrong with saying, AlQamar, you really hurt me. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But that means you have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And foolish pride prevents you from being that vulnerable because you have that ego wall up. And I can't tell him that he hurting me or she hurting me. So I'm hiding behind foolish pride. In the meanwhile, what really needs to be said is not being said. And so now we lying. We're being dishonest.
You put yourself in bondage.
Pretty much.
And so you're not going to do anything once you put yourself in that space, but attract some scenarios and opportunities to come out of it. So it's going to show up, like you said earlier, it's going to show up in the companions that you choose. It's going to show, like I said this earlier, like on some level, you're attracting this energy to you, whether it's something you're existing as or something that you said to yourself, I'm committed to shifting the way that I show up this way. So then guess what the universe is going to do? Bring you some circumstance, bring you a playing field to see if you can really, really exercise that commitment to yourself to come up out of that thing that you think is so undesirable or so something that you need to control in another person. Control it in you. Let me bring this to you so you can see whether or not your prayer can be answered for real, right? The other thing is self-work. You said that self-work piece. You talked about having a play, right? And you just want people to fill in. There's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, we at the center of everything. We all have our individual play, right? Take some auditions though. There's a desperate, there's another way that it can go. Some sisters will be hurt in relationships and then they'll go, I don't need no man, right? All men ain't nothing. All men are dogs or whatever that is. But then there's some other sisters that'll go, well, it's all me. Something's wrong with me, so I better just take what I can get. You know that one?
You don't feel worthy.
So she right, and she would have learned growing up that men are supposed to control her because they controlled all of the women in my life. So then you have some that'll just be all right with be on some Mr. and Sealy type energy because that's what they think they're supposed to experience in life, right? But that's not able to happen. See, a controlling man only going to come to a situation where he can see the sister needs to be controlled.
Vulnerable.
If she's not feeling like that, then it has nothing to attach to. So you can't come into this situation to control it because she's clear that she won't be controlled.
Good teacher.
Right?
R. Kelly comes to mind.
Exactly. That's how those little girls were able to, you know what I'm saying? So vulnerable. And yes, they little girls at first. Even if they are a certain age, their mind's still little girl. That's why he could come, or people like him can come and say whatever, and then the control is already, but it has to have something to attach to, because none of us would have taken what he said.
Right.
None of us we would have been able to, in the first couple of sentences, we would have been like, oh, he on one. He not going to get this one. You know what I'm saying? But because they're stagnant in that mindset, or either I don't need a man or I don't exist without a man, right? Either way, those opportunities exist to be a controlling situation can happen in that.
So how do you get out of that? How do you, as a woman who may not feel worthy, a woman who whose esteem may not be as high as it could be, how do you get out of that space to be able to maneuver in a more balanced place?
Watch the Empower Hour. No.
Hey.
Go down the list. I think they have to first see it in themselves. What we're talking about, some people are in auto drive in their behaviors. Like they don't even know how to make the connections. They don't realize that they keep seeking out relationships where they need to be controlled, or they need to find someone to control. Sometimes people don't even pay attention to patterns. And to become self-aware, you literally have to spend time with self.
That's it.
And usually, I would say, if someone is like, anyone that's watching, once you identify that this is a pattern, then you may have to just spend some time by yourself so that you can start making those connections, like so that you can understand the why. The why is important. You know what I mean? Because once you can understand the why, then you can start to rewire some things. One of the other things that I realize is that a lot of us, we have to denormalize extremities in our lives. A lot of us have normalized extremism. There's no balance. And when there's a lack of balance, it brings disease to the body. When you lean too heavily on one side of anything, that is an imbalance. Control, like trying to control it, that's an imbalance. That's an extreme. Feminism as a response to patriarchy. You're talking about patriarchy being one extreme, and then feminism, when you look at it, is another extreme. So it's but extremes give birth to extremes. So when something extreme has happened to you, most people respond in an extreme way, and we really have to denormalize those extreme responses in our own lives, to where it's like, I'm going to do there could be a balance, and there could be balance in your correction of that thing. Okay. There can be balance in you correcting a wrong that was done to you. There can still be a balance to that. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to go directly to hate because you weren't loved. Right? You don't have to go into the other extreme, which is hate, which is to say, I just hate all men. No, that's an extreme response to something extreme that happened to you. You can find a balance and say, these are the type of people that I have to look out for. In fact, if I shift my frequency,
they don't even come.
My frequency shift does the work for me. Those people don't even enter my space. Okay. And if they do, they can't stand me. Okay. Because it's like, I am annoying to them because we are not functioning on the same frequency. I don't want to talk about where they want to talk about. I don't want to go where they want to go. I don't want to do the things they want to do. So I become annoying to them, and they become annoying to me because we are not functioning on the same frequency. Okay. And we really need to get into energy focused relationships. Energy focused relationship. We have to go beyond the exterior. Okay. Yes, I know you love chocolate men, but so far, sweetie, so far, only focusing on chocolate men have not worked for you. You are going to have to broaden your horizon. Okay. And you might have to give the light-skinned brothers some work. Okay. You might have to let them come through and just see, because there might be somebody that's a lighter complexion than what you like, but they're on the same frequency as you. So we have to go beyond, these extremities, or, this extremism that we've normalized in our life. Balance. Everything is balance.
Yeah, good teaching, Hanifah. I really
she
like
it. Casting spells on this joint. Why you all screaming at us, my aunt, like that? You gotta do it. She was like, my aunt. Yes, I got chills when you did that. Yes. Better give the people some balance out here, Hanifah.
Hey, I'll say we don't go back far enough. When we looking for the explanations to our behaviors today. We We don't. We most often, 9 times out of 10, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, a lot of the imbalances that become our way of life is from our childhood, you know, past childhood experiences. And until we figure it out, until we go back far enough and sit with ourselves and understand the behavior, it's like not being able to go back to the beginning. So you're never even able to, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're starting off at a place where you got all this other information back here that's not even being talked about because you ain't even went back there to go back and get it. And so we got to go back and get the information as to what happened back then so we can properly understand what we're dealing with and what, you know, how that carried right on over to our adult life. And so you can better, you know, it's like the pieces of the puzzle. Oh, because of this, that, and another is the reason why I'm doing this, that, and another. So now I better understand. You know, I'm better capable of changing the things because now I'm clearer about what happened to me and why it happened to me. But if we never know, then it's like almost, it's like having amnesia. You know what I'm saying? You're in a situation and you just living, you just going through the motions. And these motions are all behaviors that are toxic. And you don't even know how to fix it, because you've never even went back far enough to figure out how they even became to be. So I would just say, go back, get the history, get the information, learn more about who you are and how things came to be so you can better shift and maneuver out of that. And so you can change those patterns and they won't become generational, you know, but only because like you said, you know, when we start talking about patterns, I forget epigenetics.
Yep.
You know, that stuff is real. We're learning more and more and more these days, the science behind our genetic makeup, that there could be some stuff your great grandmother was dealing with that now you currently deal with. You don't have a single clue. But, you know, but that doesn't mean that those things can't be rectified moving forward.
Epigenetics tells us that they can be.
Yeah,
that's right.
Power to change ourselves down to a cellular level. I like to say your cells are listening.
That's right, all the time. And each cell has a universe of its own. You understand? So you have to remember, you know what I'm saying, what you're putting out. A lot of times we think if we don't say it, then it's not so too. Right. But when we talk about energy, we know that the energy starts with the thought.
Yes.
So just thinking it is not enough. I mean, you know, just saying, well, I didn't say nothing. It doesn't matter if you said it. The thought already started a chain of events on that vibration. Can I just share something with y'all real quick on that piece about Hanifah saying, you know, as your vibration fluctuates, the frequency that you vibe on, as it moves, you know, up or down, you attract people of that similar vibration, right? So I have this book called Spiritual Growth. I've had this book probably almost 20 years. And what I do with the book is when I want to take a look at it, I just open it, and wherever it lands is usually something that I need to hear or say. So I did that as we were talking. And guess what it opened up to, Hanifah? I didn't search for it, I promise.
Go ahead.
You attract things and people of similar vibration.
Wow.
And so it says, because everything in your universe has a vibration, the rate of your vibration determines the people, events, and circumstance. The object is to control and draw to yourself loving. Then it is really a gift to yourself. So it's like when you doing this kind of work, I want to be clear of saying this. When you're doing this kind of work, it's not so that you can attract a man necessarily.
Yeah.
Like it's not, we're not talking about this being a goal driven type situation.
Right.
Because this is a continuum.
right.
You understand? And so you doing the kind of work and finding out about where your fears, where your doubts, where your control, all of that stuff, trying to figure that out is for you.
Yeah.
Now, when you trying to figure that out and you figure it out and you start unpacking and peeling it away, your vibration gets higher. Your frequency gets higher. So then you don't even have to make no announcement about people who not vibing and who not doing that same kind of work, who not trying to get that same kind of self-awareness. You ain't got to say nothing to nobody. They will fall off because the vibration and what it is your intention is about and what it is that you have said that you're going to do for yourself will then be, you'll be able to attract those people and those opportunities and those circumstances. So don't get it twisted. It ain't because you're trying to do it so you can get a man. I need to say that real clear, because some people, you know, like I said, we got some sisters and some brothers that don't feel like they can be, that they really don't have a value if they don't have a companion. You know what I'm saying? Like you got some people like, oh, by this age, I'm supposed to be married with children, living in this house. And if they don't follow that, they think they lost somehow. But if you're still by yourself and you do want a relationship and you want one in harmony, where you get to still be freed up and you can just witness somebody else's growth and development, then you have to start doing that work to elevate your vibration to bring those opportunities, people, and circumstances towards you. And all of us have the opportunity to do that because we exist as energy, right?
Yeah. So creating
we already do it all the time.
It's creating your own world at the end of the day, because you're right. It's not just about relationship, like love relationships. I'm going to share this real quick and then we'll be about to end.
Okay.
The things that that right now, presently, that I'm kind of like focusing on and observing and like taking notes and learning. So my reflection, so you guys know Genesis, you guys have met him. One of the things that I am realizing is I'm just observing us, and he has made some shifts, right, in his own space. And without even getting into details, just watching him make that shift as far as his thinking, I am literally watching his world shift. Meaning the people around him, the conversations, everything is shifting. And then even with me, certain things I'm realizing, and I've been doing like a lot of test runs, because what's happening with me right now, I'm like really developing my self-trust again, you know, because we all have it. Like I look at my children, they have that right now, right? Somewhere it gets snuffed out of us along the way. But they have that right now. And I'm studying my children and saying, that's something that we're born with. We trust self, right? And so I'm learning how to, like, if what I'm doing is test runs on myself, to where if something comes intuitively, I'm acting on it, right? And it's like I'm in the lab right now and I'm testing it out, right? And saying, okay, yeah, so that was true. You were hearing right? And just realizing like certain ways of thinking and speaking, just watching how both of us, my reflection and I, Genesis and I, where just a shift in the thought process is shifting our whole entire world and space around us. So like there's this extra work that people put into cutting people off. And I am of the mind that that's too much labor, right? I am of the mind of, just for a reference point, I am of the state that Adam and Eve was in before the fall. I'm just using this as an example, because after the fall is when their creator says, by the sweat of your brow shall you eat. So in other words, now you will have to work for what you want, right? And so I'm of the mind that that's a lot of labor that we put into, I'm doing this, I'm cutting that off, whereby if you just go within,
comes naturally.
Shift your world within, your world outside automatically begins to shift. Not a hand is laid on anyone, no bad word needs to be spoken, no hurt needs to be endured. It just happens naturally. And that's just I just wanted to share that, you know, because
you're saying the same thing.
Yeah. That's a real thing though. It's a real, and thank you for giving us that scenario, right? Because then it makes, I'm real big on saying this, that it's not just theory. You know what I said? This stuff that we learning and we sharing as we bouncing off each other, this is stuff that can really, really be the reality for us. It is the reality for us. AlQamar and I was on the phone the other day, and she was just, you know, being in a big, huge gratitude for the things, the people that she's been able to attract to herself that's on the vibration where she can really, in her particular stage of development right now, she's getting exactly what she needs. The fellowship, the people that she's attracting to fellowship is feeding that growth. You know what I'm saying? But I maintain that is because you have made a decision to do that. It's not no accident or coincidence. It's because you're actually petitioning and putting the work in and using your 15 minutes in the morning. Y'all know I like my 15 minutes in the morning. Just be quiet. Don't say nothing. Listen to yourself. Hear what you can hear. Listen to spirit. Let it dictate what your day gonna feel like and be like. That's real stuff. And it's not as hard as everybody thinks, but it's work worth doing. Yeah. And like I said, again, just to bring the conversation full circle about the bondage piece, if you are doing that work, it is time consuming enough. And, you know, you're learning as you're doing it. You know, some things used to work a couple months ago. They're not going to work now. So you got to constantly upgrade. So it's some time and energy you got to put into that. If you're doing that for yourself, you don't have no energy and time to be doing it for another person. What you can do for the other person, the best thing you can do is continue to do your stuff and lead by example. Just like you said, you saw him shifting some thoughts, it automatically transferred. And now you're able to do the same thing. And now y'all in there dancing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Now y'all in there creating a certain kind of rhythm and harmony within your relationship that is only going to give birth to more growth.
Yeah.
And then your babies get to see it.
Right.
Cycles broke.
That's right. Showing up as your authentic self.
That's it. You worth doing that. And then giving. What else you doing out here if you're not doing that?
And giving space for your partner to do the same, AlQamar.
That's right.
Show up as their authentic self. Yep.
And if your partner don't want to do that kind of work, like you said before, you ain't got to make no announcement. They ain't going to be there long. Baby, listen, I know. Listen, I ain't had to leave. I just had to do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. It is 9:30, but I want to shout out Glenn, your sweetie.
Oh, what's up, beloved Glenn? Baba Disa, he be on it, y'all. Love you.
He is such a supportive man. So Glenn and Patrick and Tony and Lavita and David and Bintu and all the rest of you guys who joined the conversation. We thank you. Keep it going. You know, share this information with somebody else. Have a conversation about it. You know, if there's some things that you disagree with what we said, chop it up, you know? So, you know, we pretty strong. Our feelings won't be, you know, hurt that bad. I don't know. Maybe only feelings might be hurt.
I'm real sensitive. No, I just wanted to make sure that I always give my sisters a shout out. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you all.
Oh man,
thank you. And I so appreciate you giving me an opportunity to share and to help me polish myself so I can be a stronger sister as I stand beside you too.
Ashe. And look, don't forget, let's tell the family about we'll be together again at the end of the month for the soliloquy.
Yes.
Soliloquy.
Yes.
Shop and sip.
Yes.
So, we'll be on with another girlfriend, Kelly.
Yes.
We'll be having another conversation. But in the midst of that conversation, we'll be offering some of our goods to you guys to take home with you. So Oni is an artist. Hanifah is an artist. I'm an artist in my own little way.
You are an artist. Just go ahead and claim that.
And Kelly as well. So we'll be on with you. And that is Sunday, January the 31st at 3 p.m. Right back here. It's called the Soliloquy Shop and Sip. So grab your slippers, grab your cup of tea, your warm cup of tea, and come on and join us for a wonderful conversation. And shopping.
And shopping. That's right. So and looking forward to it.
You too. I honor the divine in you guys, and I appreciate it every time we connect. You know, it's always a pleasure. I learn so much, you know, and just holding space for each of us to give and to also receive. I just want to make sure I honor the divine in both of you guys.
Yes, receive.
Y'all my sisters. Love you both.
Love you too.
Until next time, take care of each other out there.
Yes, indeed. Peace, love, and light.